My mother-in-law announced my pregnancy at her birthday dinner before I told my own parents. The worst part is that I was not even surprised she knew. My husband, Daniel, has always been close to his mother, Linda, in the way people describe as sweet until you marry into it and realize sweet is just a nicer word for no boundaries. Linda had opinions about everything. Where we lived. What curtains we bought. Whether Daniel should take a promotion. How often we visited. She never asked questions like a normal person. She made statements and waited for the world to rearrange itself around them. When Daniel and I started trying for a baby, I told him clearly that I wanted privacy. Not secrecy forever. Privacy. I had already had one early miscarriage the year before, and telling people we were pregnant and then untelling them was one of the most painful things I had ever done. My parents cried with me. My sister sent food. Linda, however, told me at the time that stress causes these things and I should learn to relax. So when I got pregnant again, I wanted to wait. Daniel agreed. He held my hand in the bathroom while the little test window changed. He cried harder than I did. We promised we would tell our families after the first ultrasound, maybe later if I needed more time. He said, "This is our news. Nobody else gets it until you're ready." For 2 weeks, I believed him. Then Linda started acting strange. She texted me links to prenatal vitamins. She asked if I was still drinking coffee. She made a comment about me needing more protein these days at Sunday lunch. Every time I looked at Daniel, and every time he looked away. I asked him directly if he told her. He said no. I asked again, because I know his lying face. He got offended and said he was tired of being treated like the bad guy for loving his mom. That sentence annoyed me so much I dropped it, because I did not have the energy to fight while nauseous and exhausted. Linda's birthday dinner was at a nice Italian restaurant. 20 people were there, Daniel's parents, his brothers, cousins, an aunt who takes photos of everything, and 2 family friends I had met maybe 3 times. I did not want to go because the smell of garlic made me sick, but Daniel begged. He said it would look weird if we skipped, and we could leave early. I wore a loose dress and brought crackers in my purse like a spy. Halfway through dinner, Linda stood up to make a speech. She thanked everyone for coming. She talked about family and blessings and how the best gifts were not wrapped. I felt Daniel tense beside me before she even said it. Then Linda smiled directly at me and said, "And this year, my greatest birthday gift is becoming a grandmother again." The table exploded. People gasped. Someone clapped. Daniel's aunt pointed her phone at me. Linda came around the table with her arms open, crying like she had just won a game show. I sat there frozen while 20 faces stared at my stomach. I had not told my parents. I had not told my sister. I had not even had the first ultrasound. For a few seconds, my brain went completely silent. Then I heard Daniel whisper, "Mom, no." Not "I did not tell her." Not "How did you know?" Just "Mom, no." That told me everything. Linda hugged me while I sat stiff in my chair. She said, "Don't be mad." I couldn't keep it in. "I'm just so excited." I pulled away and asked Daniel, loudly enough for the whole table to hear, "You told her?" His face went red. He said, "I was scared and needed advice." I asked, "Advice about my pregnancy?" The room got quiet in that awful way where everyone pretends not to listen while absolutely listening. Daniel said, "Our pregnancy." I said, "Then why did only your mother know?" Linda stepped in and said I was ruining a beautiful moment. She said everyone was happy for us, and I should not let hormones make me dramatic. Something in me snapped. Maybe it was the hormones. Maybe it was the memory of sitting on my bathroom floor after the miscarriage while Linda told me to relax. Maybe it was Daniel promising this was our news and then handing it to the one person I specifically did not trust. I stood up and said, "There may not even be a baby to celebrate yet. That's why I wanted privacy." The silence that followed was immediate and brutal. Linda looked offended, as if I had said something disgusting instead of the truth. Daniel said my name in a warning tone. I grabbed my purse and left the restaurant. Daniel followed me outside, angry. Not apologetic. Angry. He said, "You embarrassed my mom." I laughed so hard I almost threw up. I said, "She announced my pregnancy to a restaurant full of people, and I embarrassed her?" He said she was excited. He said he had only told her because he needed support after what happened last time. He said she promised she would not tell anyone. Then he said I should have just smiled and dealt with it until dinner was over. That last sentence made everything very clear. He did not think what she did was okay, exactly. He just thought my reaction was worse because it inconvenienced him in public. I called my sister to pick me up. Daniel texted me all night. At first, he said sorry, but every apology had a but attached. Sorry, but Mom meant well. Sorry, but you were harsh. Sorry, but I put him in an impossible position by expecting him not to talk to his mother. Linda sent me one message: "I hope one day you understand the joy of becoming a grandmother." I sent back, "I hope one day you understand consent." Then I blocked her. The next morning, I told my parents over video call, and I cried the entire time. Not happy tears. Angry tears. My mom tried to be excited while also being heartbroken that she had found out secondhand because Daniel and Linda could not keep their mouths shut. My dad was quiet, which is usually how you know he is furious. Daniel came home from work that evening with flowers. I thought maybe he had finally understood. Instead, he said he had spoken to his mother, and she was willing to forgive me if I apologized for making the announcement sound like a tragedy. I just stared at him. He said, "We need to move past this before the baby comes." I said, "The baby is the reason we cannot move past this." Because what happens after the baby comes? If Linda wants to be in the delivery room, does Daniel need support and tell her yes? If I say no kissing the newborn, does she get excited and do it anyway? If I say no posting photos online, does she decide a grandmother's joy matters more than a parent's boundary? Daniel said I was spiraling. I said I was noticing a pattern. We fought for 3 hours. He kept saying I was making him choose between me and his mom. I kept saying he had already chosen her the moment he told her private medical news after promising me he would not. Eventually, he slept on the couch. I slept in our bedroom with the door locked. 2 days later, Linda showed up at our house. I had blocked her, so she came in person. She brought a gift bag with a tiny onesie that said Grandma's favorite. I did not open the door all the way. I told her Daniel was not home. She said, "That's fine. I came to talk woman to woman." I said no. She put her foot near the door like people do in movies when they think they are entitled to enter. She said I could not keep her from her grandbaby. I said, "Watch me." Then I closed the door. She cried on the porch for 10 minutes and called Daniel, who called me at work demanding to know why his mother was outside our house sobbing. I asked why his mother was outside our house at all. That night, I packed a bag and went to my parents. I did not leave because of one announcement. I left because my husband watched his mother hurt me and kept asking me to manage the damage quietly so she would not feel bad. I left because I was pregnant and scared and needed a partner, not a public relations manager for Linda's feelings. Daniel is begging me to come home now. He says he will set boundaries. He says he made one mistake. But he also says blocking his mother is extreme, and he wants her involved because she is family. I told him family is not a free pass to violate trust. The ultrasound is next week. I do not know what our marriage will look like by then. I want this baby. I want Daniel to be the father I thought he would be. But I cannot build a family with someone who treats my boundaries like suggestions and his mother's excitement like law. Linda has started telling relatives I am using the baby to control Daniel. Maybe she is right in one way. I am controlling what I can, because the last time I trusted them with something fragile, they turned it into a toast at a birthday dinner. So am I wrong for leaving after my mother-in-law announced my pregnancy before I was ready? Or was walking away the only way to prove that this time, my privacy and my baby come before her spotlight?